and like changing up my meal plan and like being a little bit behind and then deciding to go for a run and then just deciding in the end not to stream at all. Like last night was one of those days where I just could not come on for whatever reason. And I apologize for that. I work 12-hour shifts. It's a nightmare even like just getting the stream set up because I'm so tired right now. I rolled out of bed, made some YouTube shorts or something. I went without eating. I think I worked all night long. I got in trouble for a stupid reason, and I get back and I just pass out for like 20 minutes because I just can't fire up a stream right away. I gotta sit down. I gotta think. Like I really should have went out for a run first. Like I'm trying to like go out and get some exercise before I fire up a stream and before I do anything, but that just hasn't happened because I'm just so tired right now. But yeah, it has been a wild couple of days. I've been working on American Evil. I've been like doing this or that. Have not been playing video games. Don't have time. Have not been watching HBO Max because I don't have time. Like it has been a wild couple of days. Okay, and like I have been trying to do Chiller 7s. I am trying to crack that milestone. I'm trying to crack that 1,000 sub milestone. We're like at what 992 right now. So I think it's very possible that this weekend might be the event, the big day where we finally crack 1,000 subs and the channel can finally get partnered. And I don't know how likely that is. It might be shit. It might be it might not get monetized, right? And that's just one of those things where I'm just like, I'll have to like rethink what I'm doing. Will I have to like, maybe do something else? I don't know. But like again, regardless of what happens, reaching 1,000 subs is a major milestone, and I am thankful for each and every one of you who like subs, supports the Patreon, and buys my books. Above all else, I'm very thankful for the support I get on my books. So yeah, I it is time, I think, to do something that we really should have done a long time ago. Something that I've noticed that like no other YouTuber has done, and that is go over Nintendo's financial report. Now, there is a very, very good reason for this. I do think there's a lot that needs to be said about like what's going on right now, like the damage control in the industry and like the downplaying of Nintendo. But like, I really want it to be known that like one of the big reasons I realized I had to talk about this was the fact that the Nintendo Switch 2 rumors kicked up again on like August 2nd, 2023, right? About a day or 2 days before this report premiered, right? I find that interesting that they released information claiming the Switch 2 was coming out soon, right before Nintendo revealed this financial report. And more interestingly, not a single major YouTuber, to my knowledge, has actually gone over this. Specifically, like really talked about the numbers, talked about what's happening in general, and really talking about how impressive a lot of this stuff is. First and foremost, the thing that I think a lot of people have noticed, Switch is still leading the console war. It is significantly outselling the PS5, and it is more than doubling the sales of the Xbox Series X. Right? Anyone who thinks the Switch is on the way out is delusional. Look at these. Look at these numbers. Right? Look at the massive like sales spikes after 2020, and look how they like never quite went back down to where they were before. Like sales spiked in 2020 because of the release of Animal Crossing New Horizons, the second most popular game on the console, the most popular original title on the console. And since then, like a lot of people already have a Switch, and they've like stagnated since then because the console has not had that major of a release since then. Not even Tears of the Kingdom has been able to like touch Animal Crossing sales. Like people greatly underestimate how popular Animal Crossing is and how appealing it is to to general audiences. It is it is an amazing it is an amazingly popular series, popular with like girls in particular. It's like insanely successful, a high quality brand that I think even today a lot of people kind of sleep on. They kind of forget that it's that big of a deal. To the point where like it didn't even win Game of the Year 2020, even though it probably should have. I've ranted and raved about this before when it happened, but like Animal Crossing was objectively the most culturally significant game in 2020. It should have taken away the award, but they gave it to like Sekiro or some shit. You know, like it is embarrassing that they tried to do that. And obviously it's just an attempt at like trying to pretend as if the industry is more diverse than it actually is, that there are other developers other than Nintendo putting out good games. But it was it was embarrassing, right, when that happened, considering how much more popular Animal Crossing was. And like the narrative traditionally has always been that like, oh, the most popular games win Game of the Year, right? Like, oh, Nintendo wasn't mainstream enough to win, but like Animal Crossing New Horizons was like the most mainstream game in existence that year. It is impossible to dispute that. And so like it's very very frustrating to see this narrative continue to be pushed that Switch is losing momentum, that it's losing sales, that it's not doing as well, because that blatantly is not the case. And I do think there is a very there's a very clear indication of that. Like a really good example as that like how things are actually looking when it comes to the Switch ecosystem right now. Like the major game for 2023, Tears of the Kingdom, no, sold 18.5 million units. Now, that is the number that a lot of people are throwing out there. They're talking about it. They're hyping this up. They're very, this is a good return on this game. They're kind of ignoring though, like what the number actually means. First of all, the thing I pointed out is that like it's very close to eclipsing Elden Ring's lifetime sales immediately right out of the gate. Like this is Elden Ring, the best Elden Ring could manage was like about 12 million in like 3 months or something like that. Now, the naive opinion that a lot of people are putting out is that this is the game after 3 months, but that's actually not true. These are numbers of as of June 30th. So about a month and like 20 days. These are a month and 20 days, and Tears of the Kingdom has already nearly outsold Elden Ring. I would imagine it has outsold it by now. But this is a really interesting kind of a situation here because going into this, like I really want people to remember this. Going into this, we were told over and over again, like Tears of the Kingdom is not going to outsell Elden Ring. Like Elden Ring is just a rehash of Breath of the Wild. It's not going to do very well critically. It's not going to review well. It's not going to sell well. People are going to see it's a rehash. People are just not going to be happy about the game in general. It is not as new, interesting, or as exciting as what From Software is doing. Right? Shadow of the Erdtree is going to be a better game. The DLC for Elden Ring is going to be a better game. Like Nintendo delayed Tears of the Kingdom so they wouldn't have to compete with Elden Ring. That's how scared they were. Like Tears of the Kingdom is going to be the last game ever on Switch, and then they're going to release Metroid Prime 4 on the Switch 2 with like with just full on like 16K visual graphics with like its own like super high def screen that's far beyond anything like anything that any other TV could ever render, right? Like that was the narrative going into this, right? Is that this game was not going to do well because the Switch was old, it was tired, and Nintendo was going to retire the Switch by the end of the year, right? That was the narrative like going into this. Like before March, like people were seriously pushing this idea that like the Switch 2 would come out this year, right? And after the Tears of the Kingdom came out, and after it was a huge success, and after we got another Nintendo Direct, after we got confirmation that like Super Mario Bros. Wonder was coming out in October, they pushed it back another year. They're trying to tell us that Switch 2 is coming out in 2024 now, and it's it's embarrassing, right? Seeing this happen, right? It is embarrassing seeing these people come out and like try to move the goalposts, just like how they tried to damage control like Switch Pro not existing, and just how like they tried damage controlling like the original Breath of the Wild, the Switch in general, right? And like that is the situation we're in right now, in which people are seriously trying to convince you this game is not as big of a deal as it is, and they are desperately trying. It's amazing how like every single time that like a new game comes out, people are trying to say it's like, oh, it's game of the year contender, it's gonna review higher than Tears of the Kingdom, it's gonna do this, that, it's way better. Tears of the Kingdom is overrated, like it's just a rehash, and like none of it really sticks, right? Like I remember in like June, people were seriously trying to say, okay, Tears of the Kingdom is done. Let's move on to Street Fighter 6 and Diablo 4 now. And now, a couple of months later, it feels like Diablo 4 and Street Fighter 6 are forgotten. And like Tears of the Kingdom is like kind of established itself as the best game of the year. Like objectively speaking, like nobody seriously thinks Hogwarts can compete. Nobody seriously thinks RE4 can compete. No one seriously thinks that like Starfield can compete, right? Even at this stage, even before release, right? And there are a lot of people like coming out like trying to say this, trying to say that oh this game is going to does better with this demographic and it could steal game of the year. No, it's not going to happen, right? Even if like the Game Awards does something ridiculous, like give the Game of the Year 2023 to like The Last of Us Part 2 remastered or some shit, like which I totally could see them doing. Like let's not kid ourselves here. Like most Game of the Year awards are rigged. I just got done talking about how like 2020 was rigged, and I could totally see like 2023 being rigged as well, like, against Tears of the Kingdom, right? Like, but I don't think it's really an option for them because no matter what they try to do, it's going to lead to a situation in which like they end up looking like fools because if they try to put something else on as game of the year, like it's just going to like fans are just going to laugh at it and just dismiss it, and like the award show is going to lose more credibility. But if they do give it the award, they're it's giving Nintendo legitimacy. So I think it's a lose-lose situation for like the gaming industry as a whole because nothing they've tried to throw against Tears of the Kingdom has stuck. The big thing they're doing now is saying, "Oh, people aren't talking about it." Bro, I can tell you why I wasn't talking about Tears of the Kingdom. I didn't want to be spoiled. Like I know people who have only beaten it like this month, right? Who have been playing it regularly and have only just now finished it and are only just now talking about it with me because like everyone is having wildly different experiences and they don't want to be spoiled, right? That's kind of the weird thing is that like Tears of the Kingdom, I think, is proof that online discourse regarding video games is no longer an adequate like way to evaluate how they're going to perform commercially because this game had zero hype going into it. Like nobody was excited for this, right? Everybody was like excited for Pikmin 4. They showed us nothing to be excited about, right? Like I complained about it, right? Like I didn't think the game was going to be bad or anything, but like I wasn't excited because they didn't show us anything for the longest time. And so like I go into this completely blind and I'm just like, all right, I'll just play this game. And like it impressed me. Right? It genuinely like just blew my mind how innovative and creative it was. And like the dev team just really just shocked me with how much they've grown and evolved since Breath of the Wild. It was just unreal seeing this in real time. And like I think even now, like 70 hours in, I still don't feel like I have a complete grasp of the game. Just like I don't feel like I have a complete grasp of like Breath of the Wild and how that game was structured, right? Like I feel like I still haven't. There's still so much to do and see, and like these are amazing games, but like they're so big, they're so long, there's so much to do in them that like I think the vast majority of the player base like never actually experience everything the game has to offer. And in a lot of ways, I think it's very easy for casual players to just kind of play through the game, do all the main quests, and then assume they're done, assume there's nothing more fun or interesting to do. But like, I found myself shocked at like how in the post game I'm finding like new schematics, I'm like exploring the depths, I'm finding all these cool architectures, like experimenting with like mechanics more, like vehicle building, kind of doing weird stuff, like sailing out to like islands and like it's incredible how the game keeps delivering even at this stage, right? Like I'm legit about to finish Pikmin 4, like do everything in it, and I honestly kind of wish that like I spent that time playing Tears of the Kingdom instead. That's how much better Tears of the Kingdom is than Pikmin 4. That's how much better than like Tears of the Kingdom is than the rest of the industry, period. And like we're in this denial phase where like people don't want to admit it. People don't want to admit that this game is an absolute stellar masterpiece. And they're doing everything they possibly can to downplay it, whether it's like making these shitty YouTube like game critique videos, or like trying to say that like Elden Ring was better or that the game is mid. Like uh they're just throwing everything they can at the wall to try and see what sticks. But I think more and more, like, even though none of it is, right? None of it is going to like stick like long term. None of it's really sticking now, right? The more people like play this game, the more they experience it, like the more people like discover and talk about it, like it's going to become more and more obvious. Like Tears of the Kingdom is not just like the game of the year, but one of the best games ever made, one of the best Zelda's game period, and like a game that in a game that is, I think, far superior to the original Breath of the Wild, which I had already put as like one of the greatest Zelda games ever made, right? I, as a hardcore fan, acknowledge Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom as being absolutely stellar games with really cool, interesting innovations that make them endlessly replayable and just an incredible amount of fun that just destroy everything that the competition is doing. It is embarrassing seeing like people seriously put stuff like Baldur's Gate 3 and Diablo 4 against Tears of the Kingdom. It is laughable. Final Fantasy 16 against Tears of the Kingdom. It is laughable, the big level and quality difference between this and like Forspoken. Right? It is like night and day. It is absurd. And that's not even going to the fact that like the series legacy, I think, is just going to like keep this keep Zelda make Zelda like a brand name like everybody loves. Right? Like if you finish like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, you have like decades worth of great content to go back and experience. Like today is a really good time to be a Zelda fan, I think. Oh, my throat hurts. Ugh. Yeah, so yeah, this is of June 30th. So it's possible that like actually very likely that by this point that like Switch has outsold 100 it has sold more than 130 million units. So that's 20 million units more until it catches up to the DS and the PS2. And I think it's very likely that for the holiday season we'll see like another 5 million units sold. Perhaps a little bit more than that. Like, how much do they sell on average during the holidays? Yeah, significantly more than they usually sell. So, if they do another 10 million this year, that's going to be big. Like another year of Nintendo Switch, and they will have outsold the PS2, assuming they can do that. It's possible. I certainly think they have it in them to do it. Um, And it is a major reason why I think there will be no Nintendo Switch 2 in 2024, because we have too many high profile games coming out, right? We have Splatoon 3's DLC. We have Pokemon. Pokemon DLC. We have like the final wave of Mario Kart 8 DLC. We have Super Mario Bros. Wonder. We have like the stuff that's confirmed to come out in November, and we know because of like the big release gap windows between like November and like next year is that like we can expect like one more Nintendo Direct this year, right? I think we can expect to see one in September. Right, like I think we can expect to see one that will showcase like Super Mario Bros. Wonder and maybe some early 2023 games, 2024 games, excuse me. Like we will get another Nintendo Direct, and I think it's very safe to say that like it's possible that sales are going to like just explode with the popularity of Super Mario Bros. Wonder, because I think a lot of people like are really strongly underestimating just how popular 2D Mario actually is. It's actually more popular than 3D Mario, like traditionally. And I think like a really high quality 2D Mario game, one that really innovates and really does something new, might actually just be a big deal for the brand. And I think that momentum will carry like all throughout next year. And I see absolutely no signs of slowing down. Like I mentioned earlier, Nintendo Switch is still leading the market race. There is no catching up for PS5 or Xbox Series X, especially the Xbox. Like there are just too many games coming out. Like to think that like there's a new piece of hardware like imminent, as so many people are saying. I maintain like my initial statement that Nintendo Switch will not be replaced until 2027, and that'll mostly be due to like technological advancements and like Nintendo wanting to do something like a little bit different. Like when it comes to like viability, when it comes to like hardware power, when it comes to like the library of games, there's no reason at all to release the successor to the Nintendo Switch now. It is quite handedly beating the competition of newer, fresher hardware, and as a result, there's just no reason to like do anything different at all, right? Like I think now is a good time for Nintendo to just like win over a bunch of new fans by exposing them to all of their IPs and just continuing to put out like great new games, right? Like I think in a lot of ways the Switch's potential has still not been tapped all that much, right? Like for example, it has sold 130 million units without even taking a price cut, right? Like it has never dipped from $300. I think I think that's very indicative of just how desirable the Switch is as a product. I think that that's a really good demonstration of just how Nintendo does not need new hardware to make big numbers and pull in their audience. In fact, I would actually argue that is a big benefit because I would argue that like things like phone, things like modern technology, game consoles, PS5s, Xbox Ones, they're way too expensive for what they are. Right? Like I would gladly pay like $300 for a phone if there was like a viable option to do it. Like they all want me to like upgrade like my $600 phone with like another $600 phone, and I'm just like, no, I just want something way cheaper, right? Like that's what I would want is just get something that's a little bit cheaper, a little bit less powerful, but like does everything that I want it to do. Like I basically only use my phone for banking and like the occasional YouTube short, right? Like right, like I don't need to replace my phone every couple of years, right? Like I don't need to, and that's a mindset that I think a lot of people are not understanding about the Nintendo Switch is that this is a perfectly viable piece of hardware that's functional, that works, that lasts a long time, and is still being actively supported with brand new games. Like, why exactly would Nintendo support release a new hardware now when the Switch is still at the peak of its popularity? Like there are no signs that there's going to be any competition to this thing. Nothing is coming even close, and like nobody really wants to admit it. Like I would argue the only real reason people are so adamant about pushing for a new Switch is so that they can start fresh and like start pretending that Nintendo is behind again. But really, that's not the case with the Switch. Why would they ever do it? It doesn't make any sense. They are making too much money. They are making too much money selling Nintendo Switch. And like I've seen very few people acknowledge this. Like most people really want to push this narrative that like the Switch can't continue much longer, but that isn't true at all. It is absurd, right? How many people like are pushing this lie that there's something wrong with Switch hardware, that there's something wrong with it in general. It is just absurd to see the lengths that people are going to try and downplay the Nintendo Switch. Let's see. I should probably get some ice in me or something. Metroid Prime 4 is reportedly open world. Okay. Yeah, there's no way this is real. I guess we'll like watch Nintendo Switch 2 backwards compatibility bad for business. A big publisher responds. Nobody cares what Take-Two says about Nintendo hardware. Like nobody. Pokemon the trading card game is better than ever on Nintendo Switch. Hang on. Hang on. I guess I should. I'm curious what these Spurgs have to say. Nintendo Switch is doing the impossible. Why is everything like a clickbait video? I don't understand. More Nintendo Switch 2 news, including price and games. Oh, fuck that. Does anybody believe this shit? Metroid Prime 4 is the last big Nintendo Switch game. You know, I remember when they were saying that about Tears of the Kingdom. Hang on. Tears of the Kingdom. Is this the last major Nintendo Switch game? Hang on.
Shop Best Buy.
We're watching this shit. This is absurd. Like
There have been some rumors going around that The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which, side note, is finally releasing this week. Supposedly Tears of the Kingdom is the last significant, and I'm doing big air quotes there, game for the Nintendo Switch. Now this has just been a report from various industry insiders, and normally I don't like to talk about these because I think
they all do this. Like, oh man, reports from industry insiders. I don't like talking about them, but I'm going to do it anyway because I need those sweet YouTube clicks because I'm a fraud with no real job.
99% of industry insiders have no clue what they're talking about and kind of just make stuff up. But given that this channel is the stop for all your Nintendo Switch related news, and a bunch of people are now all together saying that the Switch might not be getting any more significant games, I feel like we have to talk about it. So
look at all these articles. Like, I wasn't making this up.
Saying that the Switch.
Yep. Nintendo is Tears of the Kingdom going to be the Switch's last big hurrah?
Might not be getting any more significant games. I feel
yep,
like
last major game.
Have to talk.
They collude and push these narratives, even though we already knew Pikmin 4 was coming out. And of course, like in the months since we learned about Super Mario Bros. Wonder and like Super Mario RPG remake and like everything else coming out.
About it. So in this video, I'm going to talk about how likely I think it is that Tears of the Kingdom will be the Switch's last big significant game, whether I think that's true or not, and if I do think it's true, well, what comes next? Because no more games on the Switch, that essentially means the Switch is going to be phased out and like die soon. When would the next console come out, and what games would it launch with?
So when I do stories like this, I'm usually looking at why are we talking about this topic? And a huge reason we're talking about this topic is it's really the only other major full-on AAA game that has been announced by Nintendo, but we don't have concrete news on. And of course, we're talking about Metroid Prime 4.
Wait, what? Wait, hang on. Wait.
So when I do stories like this, I'm usually looking at why are we talking about this topic? And a huge reason we're talking about this topic is it's really the only other major full-on AAA game that has been announced by Nintendo.
Metroid Prime 4 is the only AAA game Nintendo has announced? Are you fucking stupid? Like, you know what? Huh?
But we don't have concrete news on. And of course, we're talking about Metroid Prime 4 because, as you may or may not be aware, there is brand new rumors floating around from a fairly reliable source, someone we actually talked about in our last video, and it actually all comes from the same podcast. So we talked about his Switch 2 stuff in our last video, but this is also some Metroid.
It better not be Spawncast. It better not be Spawncast.
Prime 4 stuff.
Hang on.
We're talking about Special Nick from Xbox Era, but before we dive into what he had to say about Metroid Prime 4 from a buddy he claims has actually literally seen Metroid Prime 4, I mean, that's why we're talking about it. I want to remind you we're on a road to 150,000 subscribers, and so, yeah.
Who the fuck watches this shit? Like, oh man, I know, I heard from a reliable source that his buddy is working on Nintendo. Like, he's also my uncle.
That ding-a-ling, which is the little notification bell, so you get notified of all of our stuff. You can also drop a like and subscribe to the channel. That would be great. So, what did we learn from Nick on his podcast from Xbox Era, which we'll have linked down below? Well, he said a couple really exciting things about the game. First off is that visually it looks unbelievable. Now, look, that is not that much of a surprise. I mean, Metroid Prime Remaster already looks incredible on Nintendo Switch, and we would suppose a made from ground up Metroid Prime game specifically for Switch, heck, maybe even Switch 2, is going to end up looking visually stunning. So, being an impressive visual feature,
They always do this thing where like, oh, Prime 4 it might be coming to Switch too. No, they're not going to do that.
isn't really that surprising. And I know you might go, well, on Switch,
They've been
wouldn't
doing
it
that
be
for years.
surprising? Not when you played Metroid Prime Remastered. There's just something about the outer space theme and some things that make certain elements a bit easier and less taxing on the GPU and CPU, allowing for a massive emphasis on, visual quality in other areas and other.
Did this guy just say that like Metroid Prime Remastered looks great because it's sci-fi? Like the Switch can handle these crazy visuals because this is a sci-fi property. Like, what? Is this guy for real?
Details such as enemies and explosions and obviously, Samus herself. So it should be a pretty big visual feast anyways. But if that was all we had to talk about, we wouldn't even be making this video, because talking about the visuals doesn't really mean much. Just saying it looks unbelievable is not anything new for Metroid Prime. But this next part is. So, it's just paraphrasing with a little bit of a quote. It is surprisingly open for a Metroid Prime game and has much larger areas than in prior games. Now, okay, do we have an example? Actually, yes. His buddy, who literally was watching the game being played, said it reminded him of Halo Infinite's vastness. Now,
Do you think he was just watching someone play Halo Infinite while he was like drunk or something and legit convinced himself it was Prime 4?
Those that might not be aware of what this means in regards to Nintendo, because you're just not really that aware of what the heck is going on with Halo Infinite. Well, Halo Infinite, if you play it, actually has basically an open world, and it's really, really huge. I can't begin to even describe how big the world is. And so when it reminds you of that, while they're not saying that the game is open world, the fact that we could have several.
How would you rate
No, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody believes this shit.
this game on the GX scale? What would you give it? Jake, have I ever told you about my favorite Pokemon game?
No, tell me.
It is this game right here, the Pokemon trading card game on Game Boy, or now on Switch as well, of course. It just recently came to the Switch Online service, and let me tell you, Jake, I booted up. It instantly took me back to, well, I guess a few months ago when I was playing in my analog pocket, but also when I played it as a kid, or being closer to a kid, whenever it came out, what, 2000? And,
I would say
Yeah, whatever. I can't stand listening to the Andre Seegers talk. He just pisses me off.
what we have to talk about today is a very
Breath of the Wild on Switch is identical to the Wii U version.
quality rumor. It's a big deal that has definitely some real credence, but should still be taken with a grain of salt.
Enough with the grain. I could drown you in the amount of grains of salt that I would like pour on this rumor. Like you would fucking die if I if I gave you all the grains of salt I have. Like no, I doubt this very much.
Basically, Andy Robinson, the owner of Video Games Chronicle, one of the most reputable gaming sites there are,
What? Never heard of them. Like
during the recent Video Games Chronicle podcast that was elaborating upon their Switch 2 report, there was a moment around the
okay, Switch 2 is not. No.
5-minute 55-second mark. I'll be putting a link in the description below, where Andy Robinson says, "I've heard Metroid Prime 4 is the last big Nintendo Switch game." Now he goes on to say that there was some chatter and heard from some
They've been saying this forever. It's not true.
people who would know about this, that this is what's going on, but he also makes sure to say that he has yet to put out a report on this because there's not enough sourcing on this for him to feel fully confident on. Hence
Yeah,
why we're talking
why?
about this as a rumor and not as a leak. This isn't a Video Games Chronicle or
Yeah, never listen to rumors. Like, who the fuck is even listening to all these podcasts? Who reads articles from Video Game Chronicle and thinks they're credible? Right? Like, I don't know. No. Okay. Let's see. Anything going on? No. Uh let's see. Is there anything more to talk about? We did this last night.
You know what we're doing today?
Has he not done any? It's odd how little videos this guy actually produces. Let's see. Shit. Should we look at 4chan and try to see like the weird shit that's going on there? Like, what else is there to talk about today? Wonder. That's funny. Wonder not a big game. That's hilarious. It's probably gonna outsell Tears of the Kingdom. To be completely bluntly honest with you. You are very much underestimating how popular 2D Mario is. Let's see. There's nothing on here. Yeah, I don't feel as if I can. Uh, yeah, everyone's talking about Switch 2 and not like the games that are already on Switch. It's a joke. Let's see here. I cannot think of what I want to cover. I just can't. Uh, had discovered. Uh, yeah, nobody cared about Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah, I can't think of anything I want. Uh, I guess I could talk about like the Pokemon controversy. I guess that's the big thing right now is just the weird like fucking let's see Pokemon. Yeah, because they had the Pokemon presentation the other day. I covered it on stream. I liked it, but there was some weird like reactions. Let's see. Let's see. Funny how like Angry Joe always brings up like Alana Pierce as an example as to why he can't cover Nintendo content, but here she is doing okay. Was that Alana Pierce or was that another Alana? I don't even know what she looks like. Okay, Pokemon Presents live reaction analysis. I don't want to see Pokemon React. I hate the fact that you can't just find the videos you're looking for. I want to see like the weird controversies. Let's see. Hang on. Is the me? Yeah, Denise never does anything fun. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, I cannot think to like. Yeah, there's definitely. Let's see. Where's fucking Pokemon? There we go. Yeah, I know. Okay. Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to find like all the backlash. Like there were people. I saw a bunch of people whining about the Pokemon presentation, but I don't see it. I guess it was like genuinely well received. Like, I mean, I knew it was a vocal minority, but like, Pokemon Presents, plagiarism. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like it's not really as big of a deal as I thought it was. Okay, Pokemon Presents. You can't find anything on YouTube these days. It really does come off that way. It's weird. Let's see. Steam. Let's see. Uh, I wonder, did anyone cover the financial report? Let's see. I kind of wonder if anyone tried damage control this. Let's see. Yep, Harmon Smith is covering it. Yep. Nintendo can't hide Switch 2 release from its annual report. Ooh, I wonder what the cope is here.
I'm Sage Seeds Cap, and from Nintendo's own investor relations website, the top selling titles. Wow, I'm surprised the new Pokemon didn't surpass the other Pokemon. Now everybody knows that I am, yes, a Pokemon nerd. Please like and subscribe if you're ready to have this Pokemon nerd take you on a journey through the story behind the numbers of this annual report so that your investment wisdom can blossom. These more well recognized companies where we're not going to be completely unsure of what's going on in the annual report because of just naturally knowing and hearing about these large companies. These I am going to do a quote
Let's
unquote over
see.
explanation. I'm going to be explaining a bit of the basics of what financial statements are. It might be a couple of times repetitive. The income statement now. Profit is actually a bit of a
Yes, alright, this is what I'm looking for. Do we need a Nintendo Switch 2? Let's see. I'm curious what this analyst does. Uh, let's see, 18 million. Yeah, it feels like only I cover this stuff. That's right. I got to sell the PS4 already. Uh,
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 568 of the Drunk Testers podcast. I'm your host, as always. I'm Tyler. And join me, we have the man, the myth. It's people.
But what's interesting is that you went into this reporting season really quite bullish on Nintendo. You thought they were going to really knock it out of the park. So what happened?
No, it's well, the miss really was in the movie side of it. The actual Switch units were pretty much in line of both hardware and software. What was concerning about the core Switch performance is that we're excluding Japan, particularly in the Americas, volumes were down 7% year on year, despite the Zelda being launched. So really, the incremental buyers are really upgrading to OLED models, but not really new users joining the platform. That's one. The second reason is that on the movie itself, the movie, as we know, globally is grossed over $1.34 billion. Yet the company only booked $140 million US equivalent on revenue basis on their P&L. 140 million. Are we talking less than 11% of box office? They had digital sales also in the quarter, and that didn't look. Whether or not that got booked, I think that's part of the issue. I think we might see a contribution in coming quarters. Or Nintendo's done one of the worst deals in Hollywood for a movie ever.
What's up, everybody? Damon here, and in today's gaming news, Nintendo.
Hey y'all, my name is Tiara, and a little thing that I love about the Chick-fil-A spicy chicken biscuit is that it has the perfect...
So just a couple of days ago, I reported on something that leakers have been talking about all over the internet. If you've been on Twitter or anything, you have seen that apparently the Nintendo Switch Pro, or the successor to the Switch, whatever the next big console is going to be, is going to come at the end of next year, 2024, which is super exciting because it's finally time for us to move on after the Switch, even though it's going to be sad to say goodbye to the console. So we're all preparing and getting ready for this thing. But with that said, apparently there's now a new report out there stating that we could see the next console revealed at the end of this month of August. Yeah, already. Now,
serious? Are you serious? A console reveal at the end of this month, in August, with no warning, no hype, no publicity, no build-up, while they have major releases in the pipeline for Switch? No, that isn't going to happen. When they reveal a new console, it'll be in March of the year before it launches, right? It's not going to be near the end of the year. That would cannibalize Switch sales, cannibalize Switch software sales. Like, that's a terrible idea. No.
Now, I'm going to start off by saying, of course, please, 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 take everything you hear today with a grain of salt. I'm just talking about what I've been hearing.
I already made fun of the grain of salt thing. Like, why? What do you want me to say? Like,
on the internet right now. This comes from Start Menu. It'll be in the link in the description down below, but a lot of people have been talking about this on Twitter and, weighing in on their opinions. And the first thing I want to say right now is I don't think this is possible. I just don't see it being likely, considering the fact that Nintendo has a...
Why are you making a video then? You shill. Like, I would understand, like, making a video if you were, like, making fun of it, but, like, leading people on and then just... No, I just...
A lot of games coming out this holiday. I mean, they still have Mario RPG, that Wario game. They have Mario Wonder, and there's still just even more stuff. I'm pretty sure they're going to have, like, the Splatoon 3 DLC release very soon. And there's even more games after that still coming for the rest of the year. So Nintendo has a lot on their slate. I mean, they've even got some games prepared for early next year, probably still going to be on the Switch, with Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon and the Princess Peach game. So why in the world would Nintendo...
Oh yeah, I forgot about the Princess Peach game. Yeah, that is a big example of a game coming next year. So the whole like
Nintendo tarnish these games by already announcing the next console this soon? Well, let's get into the report. Well, apparently, the article states the source, which is in regular contact with multiple studios and platform holders across the industry, told Start Menu that Nintendo plans to announce a follow-up to the Switch at Gamescom. Now, this
is it's a complete joke. Like, it's a complete joke. Like, why report on it? Like, why ever cover this at all? Like, why? No, that was unbelievably dumb. That was just stupid. I went to GameStop in all 50 states. What? I hate fucking YouTubers, man. I hate the culture. I hate the videos they produce. I hate like everything they do. Let's see. Oh, that's right. We haven't gotten a Gen 5 remake on Switch yet. That's probably what we'll get next year after the DLC is done. Is we'll get the remakes, and then like Gen 10 after that, the year after that. So yeah, I expect we'll get like one more Pokemon generation and some more remakes. Yeah, so we have like plenty of games on the pipeline, if you take that into account. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. I kind of want to just end the stream now and just kind of like call it a lost cause. I talked about everything I wanted to talk about, and like the past couple of Chiller 7s, I found like unlimited things to like bitch about, but now it just feels like I'm talking about like the same things over and over again. Like, yeah, I don't believe Switch 2 is coming. No, these rumors are full of crap. I hate the YouTubers covering them. Uh, I think I think that's everything. Uh, I guess maybe we could like look at Reddit or whatever. I wanted to like make fun of anti-work. Let's see. I was gonna ask for truth. Uh, let's see. I was going to like make fun of anti-work, but it's been so long. Yeah, I don't care anymore. Like I've just lost interest in anti-work. I was going to make fun of them, but like it feels like they're just not a relevant community anymore. It just feels like they kind of peaked a couple of years ago and they're kind of on the way out. Like I don't even find it relatable anymore. Like I used to hate the idea of working, but like now I've gotten so used to it, and even streaming is work, right? Writing is work. The things I love are work. So it's like it's really not that bad, honestly. I don't know. I just really despise anti. Okay. I hate the fact that I'm ending the stream after an hour, but I suppose that's. I guess we could do Ricada Law. I guess we could like check to see if there's anything interesting. Let's see. Oh, I guess we could use Alyssa Cliff. She has a link. Let's see. It's been a while since we've been on. We've covered like Ricada Law stuff. Maticur's Heart Attack. She doesn't upload very much. Well, I mean, I guess these are people who don't cover a ton of content, but okay. Okay. Here we are on a website that probably is banned on YouTube. Uh, Probably. Coach Red Pill. Wait, what? Okay, we gotta look at that. That seems ridiculous. Spoonie, yeah, a Spoonie update. I don't know. I probably should just get all my like news from fucking Kiwi Farms every time I'm like trying to find like a a spot, like trying to find someone to talk about. Like, oh, I'll just look at Kiwi Farms. Let's see. Okay, first things first, Ricada, of course. I don't know. I wonder if like Kiwi Farms. Elia is not the internet and wasn't responsible for what others say outside of censoring them. Ricada is such an insufferable boomer who still struggles understanding the internet. If he can't handle what others are saying about him, he needs to just stop using the internet and hide from society. Grown ass man can't even take a single negative comment from his own Jannies. No wonder his wife cheats on him. Shit. I would too if I was her. Yeah, would you cheat on Ricada if you were married to him? Like if you were his wife? I can't imagine I mean I can't imagine cheating on anyone. I mean I if I was her I probably wouldn't have married him to begin with. Like I don't know. Like it feels like she fell for that trap. You know that thing that my mom always said she wanted to do. Oh, I'll just marry someone rich and he'll take care of me. Like I don't know. Like Kayla actually legit did that, and she's a good example as to what happens when like that happens. Is that like you don't have a real sincere relationship. Like your relationship is like parasitical, right? Like you're a symbiotic, like parasite, like leeching off of each other. Like he gets sex out of you, you get money out of him, or the trust fund. Uh, like I don't know, like it seems like the more you see from them, it comes off as if the relationship is super dysfunctional. And like it's so weird to think about because we used to think like they had a really cool like family life, like they have 5 kids. And they probably had all those kids like get more money out of the trust fund. It's embarrassing, but see. I think just like the Master Sword in Tears of the Kingdom, Maggie Chan copied herself and found 2 hosts. There are 2 of them now. The merge is on for real this time. Oh man. This must have been before I really started following this story because I don't remember. So I go back and search kill list. Okay, hang on. Okay, what is the kill list? Despite rarely watching his streams, I've seen him talk multiple times about keeping a death list of kids he wanted to kill. He must have been shown it to someone or personally left it out because he got in trouble for it. He tells the story in the tone of, oh, wasn't I so dark and quirky and the education system sucks for not letting me make my classmates feel uncomfortable by making threats? I think we all had some weird angry loner kids in high school, but I don't recall knowing of anyone getting in trouble for having written death threats. I know that kid. Um, the kid who would like in my school who would like lie about like everything ever, right? The kid who like makes shit up about Pokemon on the playground and stuff like that. Like I know that guy was talking about like hit lists and stuff. Like he was the one who explained to me what a hit list was. I remember this explicitly. So like yeah, that is and like nobody liked this kid, right? Well, I didn't. So I'm curious if I don't know. Was Ricada that kid? Like the guy who was always oh man, my dad works at Nintendo or whatever. Like, I always found it an odd story for Nick to tell, but on its own, it seems like nothing. Add it to the list of all his behavior that has been revealed recently, and maybe it's worth taking note of. I don't know. We're digging like really autistically deep into this shit, right? Like, this is just people are like digging up anything they possibly can on Ricada, like in his behavior, in his background, like his tendencies, like it's like habits. It's weird. He mentioned the list several times on stream, although not recently. I think he was trying to frame it as lots of people have issues, but most don't act on it. Maybe in context of red flag laws and the Rittenhouse cases. He tried to joke it off, of course, but it stuck with me. Yeah, curious. The Sonatu demon. Yeah, Kiwi Farms legit seems to think that like Chris Chan like spread the Sonatu to Ralph, who then like in turn spread it to Nick. Now, if this theory is true, in theory, being Nick Rekida's biggest detractor that I know of, uh, I would be next on the chopping block. So I might actually suffer from like the Sonatu disease or whatever it is, the Sonatu demon they're calling it. I'm not sure if I should be concerned about this, but anyway, let's see. The whole spiel about open internet he gives sounds like he's mauling so hard his brain is just shooting up buzzwords. You're getting made fun of because the internet is open. Let's see. Monty's inevitable lawsuit is going. When is going to be the second time you get bent over and your hole is violently stretched? His transition is almost complete. Oh man, that's funny. Oh no, he's becoming Jack Murphy. Oh. Let's see. Yeah, it feels like we've kind of been stagnant for the past couple of weeks. Like, I can't think of any major happening. Like, according to the forums, Rekieta has still not publicly admitted he went to Hedonism 2, the Jamaican sex resort. So I'm kind of like, I feel as if there's like a lot going on right now, but like nothing we really know about. Because like we have a lot of intonations, we have a lot of speculations, but like nothing really concrete. And like, Rekieta's like spiraling downhill all the time. I'm sure there's more and more friction with his wife. I'm sure like his relationships are strained, especially with Autu. Like I've seen evidence for all of that, but like it hasn't collapsed yet. And I'm just kind of curious, like when it's gonna happen. Like, yeah, it's a big reason why I haven't been making Rekieta retardations. Is that there's just nothing to talk about. Like anything, not anything I could, anything current. Like I could talk about like the Vic thing or like Nick and Drexel's friendship, but like I don't know. It just seems like, let's see. Spoonie Revival at this point is the Duke Nukem Forever of internet reviews. Is this the most based man on Kiwi Farms? You know that if ever actually happened, it would have to compete with the glorious revival we've been picturing in our heads for years, and there's just no way it's going to be able to compete. Plus, it would be under so much scrutiny. Just look at what happened when he vlogged about The Last Jedi during the time he was with April. Nothing but lambast all around. But most notably that he had become a SJW. I mean, he always has been one, but on top of that, I tend to think of Spoonie as one of those creators where part of the mystique is that his career stopped at some point. He's like the internet version of Fox's Peter Pan and the Pirates. Very few saw it, but they sent an undeniable magic, as compared to someone like AVGN, who I guess would be the Power Rangers or Dragon Ball of the internet. He's gotten so tired you just wish he would give it a rest already. A Spoonie made today would forever live in the shadows of his glory years, similar to how Noah himself described the Final Fantasy series. Let's see. I don't understand why these guys will write like entire blocks of paragraphs, like covering an irrelevant internet reviewer. Like, I mean, I'm reading it, so like I really can't be judging, but like I don't know. It's always been this behavior that made me hate Spoonie fans, is that they're just so obsessive. Like, ugh. That's a pretty fair comparison. The fact is that his career has been dead at this point longer than it really existed. He never had a career. If we ignore the fact that he wouldn't have any content for Countermonkey or the board game sub, since he doesn't have anyone to play games with, we can probably agree that the movies and video games are the meat and potatoes of his channel. The problem with Spoonie coming back to do either of those is that we've had creators come and go, even in the times he's been absent, who have both done better. In the past 8 to 9 years, damn near every other person on YouTube has gotten better cameras, better editing, or hired an editor, better mics. Heck, Spoonie isn't going to have the money to make up for this gap, let alone actually be able to pull it off, considering how perpetually lazy we all know he is. He's not going to have enough of a pre-existing audience anymore to actually get picked up by YouTube's algorithm. And even if he somehow did manage to pull it off, it'll be what, another 8 years before he does something else? The man can't even be bothered to maintain a schedule for streaming games to even build up an audience for that. We also know how damn well his skin has gotten over the years due to his social media addiction. Even if he did crap out a video about a movie or video game, he'd likely just spend the next few weeks arguing with the comments instead of capitalizing on any momentum he might have received. I skimmed through the first interview thing he did a few months back, and he said he had ideas. Did he actually say? Did he say he actually had anything done in the latest one? I doubt it, seeing as how no one has mentioned that. Even Jontron still has to crap out something every few months to keep his audience, and this guy hasn't done shit for almost a decade. And yeah, the most interesting part about Spoonie at this point is the fact that he nuked his own career and has done fuck all. I don't know. Like, I think Spoonie's career arc is interesting, like purely because it feels like the OG like internet death spiral, right? Like, I can't think of anyone who, as early as he was, that was as big as he was, with such a dedicated cult following that just like pissed it all away for no reason. Like, there are other examples, but like those guys are still relevant in some way, shape, or form. Like DSP is more relevant than Spoonie is. Like Wings is a bit more relevant than Spoonie is. Like Spoonie is like nothing. Like, he just has a couple of spurgs on Kiwi Farms or whatever, like obsessively covering him all the time. Let's see. Spoonie is a gay retard and massive irredeemable fuck up. End of story. Based. It's shocking how active this thread is, even though like nothing has happened. You don't understand. It's gonna be the year of the Spoonie 8 day now. He just needs to do the exact opposite of everything he's done for the past 20 plus years, but it'll happen. Imagine writing a PhD thesis defense of Spoonie of all people. Oh yeah, I saw this the other day where like I think I think last night where like the guy was trying to defend Spoonie as like a DM. I'm just like legit. That's how autistic this thread is. Like, you have guys arguing on whether or not Spoonie was good at being a dungeon master for Dungeons and Dragons. It was just okay. If Spoonie had any lesson to be taken from them, it'd be don't use Twitter for any reason ever. There is something about that site that just kills brain cells and turns you into a drooling mess that compels you to roleplay as your dog. Part of me wonders if this was just a long con, if he genuinely had a Spoonie movie ever in mind. Um, hmm. Second thing about Twitter, I honestly don't get why that website exists. A blog where you can only make short posts lacking substance. I tried to use it and got bored within seconds, so I don't even understand how addiction could start. And I literally can't think of a single good thing that ever came out of Twitter. Most relevant to this topic, if Twitter hadn't existed, Spoonie might not have. Again, they keep doing this every single time. They keep making excuses for his behavior. They blame his breakups. They blame Twitter. They blame, like, that guy with the glasses. They never blame Spoonie himself. Like, never. They enable him. It's so frustrating. Let's see. You're the one mad at the internet. I listened videos and even gave timestamps so you could hear from his own mouth if you wanted. You were the one who lied about Spoonie not actually playing or running the game in all the Jedi or no Jedi video. As far as a hug box, you're the one trying to defend Spoonie for no reason. Guy hasn't made any content in almost a decade, and you're asking why people have the opinions they do, and proceed to go on a tirade when someone states why these opinions exist, and then post the timestamps to prove when it questioned. Let's see. I'm not sure how anyone could look at April and Spoonie and think either were happy or even normal at all. She looked so irritated to be on camera. His worst video, I think, maybe ever, was them eating the weird Jap food that she forced them to. I don't think I ever saw it. Like, there's so many of these videos I've never seen. Like, ugh. They were a goofy mix from the start, and it was clear she didn't want to be his babysitter. Instead of riding the gravy train she thought he'd produce. She wanted to be E-famous, though. Thing was, is that she was stuck with Spoonie, who no longer wanted to put out content. If he wanted to put out more content, she would have been happy to be in it long as she got screen time. As a reminder, the sexy April video exists. By the way, the whole Japanese snack thing was during the Total Biscuit was doing it with his wife and a few other content creators. Yeah, I tend to lean towards like Spoonie is never ever coming back. Like the fact is, like it's so shocking that there are so many people who are still like so defensive of Spoonie and like everything he stands for. It's just so frustrating to me as like someone who's like worked very hard for what I have, like to see people just obsess over a content creator who produces nothing. Like it's such a weird thing. And I do think it's only because like I'd say Spoonie is like the first E celeb who really did that thing that like modern E celebs do, where they, like pretend to be your friend, right? Like it's kind of like a parasocial relationship. It's kind of like the relationship I had with Ricada, right? Like, well, it feels the same way, right? But whereas with Ricada, I like eventually disavowed him and like distanced myself and stuff like that. Like, Spoonie's fans still like have this like glorified image in their minds of just being like this great, amazing creator, like a god among YouTubers, and it's just he never was that great, bro. Okay. Yeah, so Coach Roadpill was in Ukraine. Like, I remember the last time I heard from him, he was like, the rumor was that he was killed in action or something, but like, yeah, that's apparently not true. I never got like the deep lore on that. I was just like, I never actually believed it, all right? Like, it just seemed too contrived. But like, yeah, I wish I was following this shit because it seems really, really funny. Like, imagine a red-pilled content creator, like, running around Ukraine talking about how Putin is going to like win the war, how he's like a military genius, and how like and how Zelensky is gonna get fucked, and he's gonna have to like move in with like his identical twin brother Nick Rekieta, and like they'll have to shove Baldos up each other's ass. Like, ugh. That sounds really funny. And I haven't heard anything about it since the whole like he was killed in action thing when like the war first started. When did the war first start? Was it like last year? Or was it this year? How long has the war been going on? I can't believe I spaced it. Like, yeah, I haven't been following it at all. I haven't been following it at all since like the early stages of like, oh, it'll be over in 2 weeks. Like, I don't know. I haven't like really talked about Ukraine much, even though I have like some very strong opinions on it. I don't know. Well, I'm not sure I would say very strong, but like it's there's definitely a lot of things to talk about, and I just never got into it. Like, ugh. I mean, I'm working 15 hours a day. I have my own problems to worry about. Like, okay. I think that's Kiwi Farms is pretty good for news. Christian Chandler is due for court. I really should like do some Ethan Ralph stuff. I really should cover that more often. I guess Kiwi Farms is like the go-to resource for that. Um, I mean, I don't know. Part of the reason I'm so against Kiwi Farms existing is because it feels like all of our information has to go through this forum, and as a result of it, like some of it might be unreliable and some of it might be biased. Like we saw this earlier this year when Null was still nose guarding for Ricada. No, Null was still nose guarding for Ricada, right? Like for a long time, like people were seriously like arguing that like, well, if Null doesn't think what Ricada is doing is cringe, then like it must not be. And like that's ridiculous, and people really should have like a lot of people like myself were calling it out, but there were people who were like seriously using that as an argument for like months and months. And so until like Null turned on him like just a couple of months ago, actually, like I think Null's official stance was that like, oh, this isn't funny, this isn't interesting, I don't want to talk about it. It's just like I didn't like that at all. Like my stance for like this kind of content is that like it should be decentralized. Like it should not be like hosted on a single platform, right? Like I think Null has like way too much power and influence, despite being a complete dipshit, and not enough people call him out on it. Because like most people are scared because Kiwi Forms will come after you if you like criticize them in any way, shape, or form, and yeah, I think most people are not willing to do it. Let's see. I mean, Ricada did this thing where he was like their friend for a long time. He was a friend of the farms, and now look at him. Yeah, Flamenco is not doing anything interesting. Let's see. Godwinson. I don't know. Like, this is part of the problem is that like Kiwi Forums has threads on people that like I 100% would not call like lolcows. All right, like Ethan Ralph is a lolcow because of his like public spurg outs and his like burning the bridge with like everyone he's ever interacted with. But like, is every single person he's ever had a show like a lolcow by extension? Right? Like, is Flamenco one? Is Gator one? Is Bibble one? Like, is Worski one? Like, it's debatable, but in the end, I don't think they are because they don't have nearly the same extent, like, just nonstop ridiculous behavior that Ralph has, right? Like, at the very least, you can. Ralph is like a bigger, more interesting locale than like anyone else in like his sphere in the sector, right? But like for some reason he has his own board, and like every like side character has their own thread where like no one really talks about anything because we got to document everything for no reason, even though these people aren't relevant at all. Let's see. Casino is boring. I mean, like Kino Casino, like I don't like action, I don't like Warski, but when I call them lolcows, like I'm not sure. Like that's kind of my view is that like I think calling someone a lolcow is kind of an extreme thing, you know. Like I think there's no real just like, it should be like indisputable whether or not someone is a lolcow. I think for the vast majority of people on Kiwi farms, like it's just people they don't like. Like they consider people they don't like lolcows, and I think that in and of itself is just silly. Let's see. Oh no, he's praising emulators. Okay. Yeah, I wish I had like more things to talk about, but it just feels like there's nothing today. Maybe it's because I'm just tired and haven't wasn't following the news or anything, but it just kind of seems like there's nothing to talk about, nothing major. Yeah, I think I'm probably just gonna end the stream now. Sucks because I was thinking that like this might be another 2 hour stream, like I did on was it Tuesday night, Tuesday morning? Like that was so much fun. I was like I felt like I could go for hours, and now I'm just kind of like, is there anything to talk about? Like, ugh. Famitsu sales. Yeah, Pikmin 4. Yep. Holy crap! Final Fantasy 16 fell off the top 10 entirely? Holy crap. Yeah, Splatoon 3, Nintendo Switch Sports, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Yeah, everything is a top 10 game. Yeah, everything is a top 10. Yeah, so Pikmin 4 is is that the narrative right now is that everyone's just buying these games digitally? I don't believe that shit at all. No. All right, interesting. So Final Fantasy 16 is officially off the top 10 in Japan. It must be like really unpopular there. I mean, I can see why, because like it stripped away everything that people loved about JRPGs. Actually, hang on, let me start recording. Because I wanted to talk about this. Yeah, I'm gonna clip this. Yeah. Um, I think this really needs to be said when it comes to Square Enix and their claims that RPGs don't sell anymore, that they're not mainstream, that are like Westerners prefer action games. Like I think the kind of action games they're making, like the over the top crazy action games, like Ninja Gaidens, the Bayonettas, like the DMCs, like those are more niche than the mainline Final Fantasy games, like the traditional turn-based ones. Like I think Final Fantasy like 5 Final Fantasy 6, 10, like stuff like that. Those games like that are more mainstream, more culturally relevant, more significant than the hack and slash subgenre, right? The Japanese action games, right? Those are like synonymous with like high quality, high production value, like great Japanese video game design. The best stories in classic video games, right? They were for the time some of the coolest things we've ever seen, the grandest adventures, the most beautiful artistry, the best music, like the best turn-based RPGs ever made, right? That is mainstream. That isn't like I'm not like making a complete genre shift from this mainstream thing, turn-based Japanese RPGs, and turning it into a generic action game was a niche action game was a wrong move to make. Like especially since it was done under the assumption that like it would be more appealing to like a wider player base, right? Square Enix is greatly underestimating how much people love Final Fantasy. They do not understand the value of their own brand. And they wouldn't, because they kicked out all the talent that made these games great to begin with. Sakaguchi, like the Xenogears guys, like, several of the Secret of Mana creators. Like, what did these guys do? Xenoblade, Xenoblade people became a Nintendo subsidiary. They are a first-party studio. Monolith Soft is one of the most popular Nintendo studios for Japanese RPGs fans. Why? Because they're actually making games similar to the ones they used to make on Squaresoft. Like, they're doing new interesting things with similar mechanics. Right? Like, it's not a turn-based game, but it is still very much an RPG at its core, with like the same kind of characters, the same kind of storytelling tropes, the same kind of like artwork, and like the cool music, and like the grand sweeping story. Right? Like, Monolith Soft stayed true to their roots, and they were rewarded for it with some of their most popular games ever. Like, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is a really big phenomenon in certain circles, right? Like, that game was hugely successful and hugely popular, right? And I'm sure once they start making new IPs, they're going to really start hitting out of the park. Like, I think what's Monolith Soft, like, makes a good AAA turn-based RPG, they very well might eclipse, like, Final Fantasy in popularity. Purely because they're doing something, like, with such high production values. Like, we've seen Persona 5 explode purely because of like how well produced it is, right? Like, Atlas actually respects the fans and the audience, right? Oh, but anyway, yeah, I was going off on a tangent, but like Sakaguchi, right? He started his own company, Mistwalker, right? People still like those games. I love The Last Story, right? Like, The Last Story feels more like a classic Final Fantasy game than anything they've made since like 10. Okay? Like, it's embarrassing how modern Final Fantasy game like feels nothing like the classic ones. Like, they don't understand the brand. They don't respect it. All they can think of is like, like, if we just slap the name Final Fantasy onto like a first-person shooter, we can do COD numbers, which is not true in the slightest. Like, they need to get over themselves and just understand that turn-based JRPGs, the games they used to make, are extremely popular and mainstream. They are never going to be successful making mediocre copycats of niche action games. So yeah, embarrassing, right? I am just so tired of like Square Enix and their nonsense. I hope this is a wake-up call for them. Like, what I've seen, it seems as if like a lot of people like are in my camp, like Western fans seem in agreement as well. Like, the Japanese, like, they must be more pissed than we are. Like, if the game isn't even in the top 10. Like, it seems like with, like, I've seen Yoshi P, like, crying about, like, mean comments he received online. And I'm just like, bro, switch places with me. Right? If I had your budget and it was making your games, like, and you were writing like, if he was writing my books, right? If you had to deal with my audience, like, that guy would be like breaking down into tears. Like, he would try to kill himself, right? He would try and like, I don't know, like, stick his hand in my new blender or something and just like bleed himself to death or something. Like, use the heater and like, break it open and die of like CO2 exposure. Like, he would try and like committing Sudoku on like this on live stream, like right now, if he had to deal with my audience. Like, I guarantee you he would not be able to handle it. Like what a little bitch. Like, he's not taking the feedback from the fans seriously. Like, he's just trying to dismiss them. Like, oh, they're just fans. They're allergic to change. They don't understand my vision. Fuck off. You made a terrible product, and most people who are not complete shills can see that it's a bad product. Like, I think the only people who are saying anything nice about Final Fantasy 16 at all are shills. Like, when Max Dude is going on stream, oh, I never would have finished this game if I wasn't a streamer. 8 out of 10. You have a problem, right? And this is like kind of the issue with gaming YouTuber in general, where like we had a bunch of like red flags going into Final Fantasy VII-R, right? We had the whole episodic thing. We had the genre shift. We had like the focus on Midgar. We had like the confirmed change plot elements. Like we had all of this stuff, and like still everyone, Angry Joe, Max Dude, like they all came out and tried to say it was good, that it was a Game of the Year contender, one of the best games they've ever played, like a good, good recreation of the original, right? Right, just what they wanted. And now look at them. Like 3 years later, no sequel in sight. We're never getting a conclusion to the story. Like this was supposed to be their big thing, their big break glass in case of emergency project. Final Fantasy VII Remake, and nobody cares about it. Like it is. I don't want to say it's like Shenmue 3 tire, because like, let's be honest, it wasn't that bad. At the very least, Tifa Lockhart is fine as fuck. Like, at the very least, the girls in Final Fantasy VII are hot. Like, I don't understand. Like, these people are supposed to be living in the ghetto, and yet they look like fucking. I don't understand why everybody in like the slums of Midgar, right, look like this. Like, it just baffles me. Like, I don't. Like, Tifa's just perfect. Perfect. Oh, I'm not just saying that because she's here, by the way. Hang on. Is this a cosplayer? I'm not just saying this because a cosplayer is on screen, okay? Like, I'm not just saying this. I'm saying it because it's the truth. Okay? The only good thing about Final Fantasy VII-R, the only thing is that the chicks are supremely bangable. Like, every single one of them. Like, it is insane how breedable they are. It's just, it's unbelievable. What do you think, chat? The thing about cosplayers that like I like cosplayers, but they have to like pull off the look naturally. Like whenever it looks forced, I'm just kind of like, yeah, even if it looks good, I'm just like, yeah, that's not. There are definitely cosplayers that I would like. Ugh. Just hang on, let me get some water. Let me Oh, I didn't set my dishwasher off. Why am I always out of water? I don't. Yeah, man. I wish like I wish Final Fantasy VII was real, just so I could marry like Tifa Lockhart. She legit is that much of a waifu. Like I didn't even grow up with Final Fantasy VII. Like but like yeah, Tifa is legit great. Obviously I'm not knocking her best friend Eris either, but like yeah, I definitely Tifa's great, like unbelievably. And they just ruined her. Well, I mean, not in the remake, but like, yeah, she's never coming back ever. Oh no, hang on. Okay, let's see. Multiversus. Yeah, gotta love how like that game was taken down and nobody cares. Let's see. Yeah, is there anything else to react to? I would hate to. Yeah, I've been like talking about ending the stream for like half an hour now, and I just can't do it. I always feel guilty when I'm streaming because I don't know, like I don't know. I always feel like I don't do enough for you guys. I really do. Let's see here. Hey, let's see. Do we have anything on YouTube to talk about? Let's see. History of adults. It's got to be something. I'd like to see a video on that like Pokemon controversy. Let's see. Hang on. I can't believe I can't. Pokemon stole music. Hang on, let's be more specific. I can't believe I can't find this. Let's see. Pokemon accused of stealing fans' music without credit in latest Starlight and Violet DLC trailer. Uh, Pokemon Company allegedly used. Okay, hang on. That is not true. Okay, fan made. No, it was the. Okay, we'll have to watch this. Like, this is a good example of like why.
And cut your internet bill to just $25 a month.
I can see why people like
Hey, everyone.
dismiss this story and why we can't find anyone talking about it now because of how retarded it is. But like, it was amazing to me that people even tried making this into a thing, right? Like, it was just.
Hey everyone, Joey here with a quick news update. As a trailer from the Pokemon Presents this morning used a fan-made music arrangement of Area Zero from composer ND Music without their permission. They posted on Twitter, "I'm really surprised and quite honored to hear snippets of my Area Zero music arrangement in today's Pokemon Presents DLC trailer. However, TPC, or the Pokemon Company, you could have asked me before. I'm not particularly..."
He did a cover of a song that Game Freak already owned, and he's trying to pretend that he owns it. Right? This is why, like, I'm really skeptical whenever fans like come out and try to say that their fanfics were like used in real shows or some shit. Like, because it always comes off as like fake, and this is a really good example as of that. Like, you made a cover of a song that already exists, and you're getting upset that the song is being used. Like, no, that doesn't make any sense at all.
Particularly upset, but rather confused and surprised that an unofficial creation.
Like, my understanding of it is that like the arrangement that they used is like a little bit different than this guy's. So like I think so they like the claim is that they used bits and pieces of this specific arrangement, but that's like that doesn't hold up under any kind of scrutiny at all. And like I think it's a big reason why everyone's kind of dismissing this as being nonsensical. But everyone picked up on it because every single time you have to find something to complain about when it comes to Pokemon Direct. You have to find some kind of controversy. You have to make something up. And
would be included in official content.
especially coming from TPC. Frankly, a company as big as TPC using a fan-made arrangement without permission to promote their upcoming DLC is a baffling move. Even if this was a mistake, you'd think the team responsible for making this trailer would have access to the game's official soundtrack, right? They wouldn't have to go out of their way to get fan-made music. Regardless, this should not have happened, and hopefully the Pokemon Company rights this wrong sooner than later. If you want to support indie music during this,
it's like how they tried to get upset at like Grant Kirkhope for not being credited in the Super Mario Bros. Movie, for writing the DK rap, but like all they had to do in that situation was credit DK64 because Nintendo owns the game, so it's just ugh. Like, I don't understand why people get upset about this kind of thing. It just comes off as so contrived and so again, this is like peak pretendoism. It's just like, oh no, they stole the content that they own. Like, it doesn't work that way.
Is up, ladies and gentlemen, and beautiful people of the Crasher community. How are you guys doing today? Welcome back to the channel for another video, and thank you for tuning on in here. So, we have ourselves quite the interesting thing that cropped up, and it's involving the contents of this article as seen here. Now, unlike a lot of other videos, I'm going to skip reading the article and sum up the details that's presented in this article. Basically, in the latest Pokemon Scarlet and Violet DLC trailer, the trailer used a piece of music that was fan-made and the original music artist was not given credit. This upset the community, and I can understand why. However,
Did you say original? It was a cover artist. Like, hang on, that's
music that was fan-made and the original music artist was not given latest Pokemon Scarlet and details that's presented in this article. Basically, in the latest Pokemon Scarlet and Violet DLC trailer, the trailer used a piece of music that was fan-made and the original music artist was not given credit. This
he's not mentioning the fact that it was a cover of a song that was already in the game.
This upset the
Again, they're being dishonest. They're being clickbaity. They were trying to drum up controversy and failed.
Community, and I can understand why. However, things are a bit iffy here in this situation, and I'll get into why right now. So, this situation definitely has some nuances here, and this is one of those times where I can't really give a definitive opinion on this, as all sides here have some sort of substance to them. To try and make this as concise as I can, if you use...
It doesn't take like 3 minutes to explain that it was a cover. like I did that in like 3 seconds. It's a cover. Like, why are these YouTubers failing to make short, concise videos? Like, I could have done that in like a YouTube short. I think I did do that in a YouTube short. Am I misremembering? I think I did. Let's see. Let's check. All right, shorts.
It's kind of weird to me how I'm being bombarded with accusations that I never give negative reviews to Nintendo games or cover Nintendo negatively when I've been releasing lots of statements about how I'm really not that happy with Pikmin 4. It's kind of weird to me how I'm being bombarded.
Okay, that's not the right one. Here we go.
Game Freak stole a fan cover of the Area Zero theme? You believe that Game Freak stole a song that they already own? Are you delusional? Game.
Yeah, crazy, isn't it? Again, I explained it in like 15 seconds. Like, it's not that hard to do. Like, it's just. Yes. Oh, oops. Hang on, I'm not signed in. I completely forgot.
Game Freak stole a fan cover of.
That was so ridiculous. Holy shit. Yeah, as usual, Harmon Smith is the only good YouTube channel on on YouTube. Let's see. Let's see. See, Arlo. My top 10 GameCube games? Okay, I'm curious.
Someone sits down next to you in a 5-hour flight. Your worst nightmare is that they're wearing
Axe body spray.
Oh no!
Oh, Axe.
I don't typically like Axe fragrances. I do not know who's paying me right now to be here.
Man, oh man, the GameCube. Holy Toledo, the GameCube. Sweet, merciful pancakes, the GameCube. This year marks the 20th anniversary of the GameCube, and while anything less than a massive, hours-long retrospective on the little thing seems woefully lacking, I am not yet ready for such a project. It would be wrong not to make some sort of celebratory video, though, so let's get to the real heart of the matter. The games. The GameCube has long been my favorite console of all time, not because of its handsome purple color.
Fucking really? It's my least favorite Nintendo console.
Or its sleek, boxy build, or its incredibly convenient carrying handle. More than anything, it's my favorite because of its incredible library. So today, I would like to present to you a list I've been wanting to share since the early days of my channel. Dramatic music, please. These are my top
I don't think I've used my GameCube in a long time.
10 GameCube games ever! Whoosh! As you might have seen in my review of Super Mario 3D All-Stars, I firmly believe that Super Mario Sunshine is the worst mainline Mario game, and by a pretty wide margin. It's stuffed with frustrating challenges where one mistake has you starting all over, some of which are weirdly sadistic. It can be pretty janky, and overall doesn't have quite the same level of polish as most other Nintendo games. It doesn't have very many worlds, and a huge number of its shine sprites are earned by collecting these annoying blue coins. The game feels like a rush job, honestly, and every time I play it, I see more of its flaws. And yet, I love it. I never had my own copy as a teenager, and instead borrowed a copy from my friend's little brother. I later purchased it from him. But my memories of playing the game way back then are precious to me. The sights and sounds of Isle Delfino are indelibly etched into my psyche. I didn't finish the game until way later, but finishing it didn't really matter to me, because all I wanted to do was goof around. Mario felt that good to control. Flood was that satisfying to use. Slipping and sliding around like a doofus was that stupidly fun. And no matter how many flaws I can identify now that I'm a grumpy old game reviewer, I'll always get that warm little nostalgic feeling whenever I boot the game up. I bought Sonic Adventure 2.
Yeah, there's like Super Mario Sunshine is really odd because it's so deeply flawed, but there's so many things I love about it, like specifically the movement mechanics and like the animations and I suppose the locations and just there are things that like I look back on really fondly about Sunshine. I just and it's so weird to think that I don't really care for it as an adult. It's kind of a shame, honestly.
2 battle on a whim. I was at the game store, I was looking for something to buy, I saw the game, remembered watching my friend play the first Sonic Adventure on his Dreamcast, and thought, I liked Sonic on the Genesis when I was a kid. What the hey? So I bought it, because I guess when I was a kid, I was willing to shell out $50, which was probably more like 80 now for a game I knew very little about. I guess that was what I liked doing. I mean, I watched someone play the Spider-Man movie game for like 5 minutes, and I thought it looked cool, so I went out and bought it instantly. No, not the good one, not Spider-Man 2, the first one. Kids, I tell you. Anyway!
I remember... I think the first one is actually pretty good as well. I've always wanted to get it, but like, yeah, I never got it, picked it up.
I took this fancy new Sonic game home, and looking back, I think it was okay? I had some fun, but a lot of it was really frustrating and unpolished, and I never finished it because the emerald hunting levels were just dreadful. I seem to be in the minority here when
2 of these 10 games he never finished. What is with these YouTubers and not playing games? Like, I just saw like a Scott DeWaz video where he claimed he's never beaten like the chemical plant zone in Sonic 2. He's never gotten past it, and that's like the second stage in the entire game. It's not that hard, bro.
whenever I badmouth this game, but even
I kind
as
of
a
wanted to play
teen
Sonic
with a lot of
after
time on
seeing
my
that video.
hands and a lot more patience, I remember being like, I think this is fun, like a good amount of the time. Thing is though, the mechanics and the level design and the story and the polish and all that, none of that matters. And it certainly didn't matter back then, because when I found the Chow Garden, I realized what Sonic Adventure 2 is really about. The main game isn't really the main game at all. It's a series of mini-games that you play to collect stuff for your Chow. And from that perspective, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle is an incredible game. Trust me, I've been wanting to make a full video about the Chow Garden for forever, but I'll just give you the Cliff Notes version. This is basically a virtual pet minigame, except it's so much deeper than you would expect. Back then, there were whole websites and communities dedicated to the Chow Garden. You can customize and train them in all sorts of ways. You can hang out with them and watch them grow from infancy to adulthood. You can squeal with glee when you see them take their first steps or start learning how to fly. It's seriously like watching a little life form develop. It's incredible. I spent more hours than I can calculate with my Chow. I stayed up late watching them. When a corrupted memory card took some of them from me, I mourned. They meant a lot to me. And because of them, this janky old game is absolutely one of my GameCube highlights. And
Is the Chow Garden really that fun? I've never messed around with it, so I actually have no clue. A lot of these mini games and old games were like weirdly fleshed out. Final Fantasy VII has like a lot of similar aspects to it, and I never got into it.
why Sega hasn't brought back the Chow Garden?
I'm surprised that like modern games don't really have this kind of stuff anymore. It's kind of sad.
After 2 decades is beyond me. Has there ever been a headlining first-party launch game as weird as Luigi's Mansion? Instead of giving us a Mario game to play on our new GameCubes, Nintendo gave us a game where you instead play as Luigi and you toddle around a big house and suck up ghosts with a vacuum, Ghostbusters style. I don't know how such a bold move worked out for Nintendo and the GameCube in the long run, but it sure worked out for me. Luigi's Mansion blew me away! First of all, those graphics were something else. The character models looked so good. The lighting and particle effects were otherworldly, and the ghosts themselves were so creepy and cool. The gameplay was bizarre, but it all still stands the test of time to this day. I don't know what it is about puzzling out how to expose a ghost, hitting it with a flashlight, then fighting to suck it up, but they struck gold right off the bat with this one. Luigi's Mansion is a short game, but
I feel like I've played Luigi's Mansion to death, but like watching it again, I really am remembering just how much this game means to me. Like I love this game, I really do.
the whole package is so incredibly fun that it's endlessly replayable. And of course, I'll always associate it with the day I got my GameCube. That joyous, magical day.
I picked the software engineering program because they pay very well. It's a fast-paced industry. The boot camp allowed me to.
I played the original Smash Bros. For many, many hours. I also played a good amount of Brawl, and of course I enjoyed Ultimate for a time when it released. But if there was one time in my life when I was into Smash, it was my teenage years. And the Smash I was into was Melee. This was the perfect sequel. It was everything good about the original, but with so much added. A bunch of new characters, including stinking Bowser and Ganondorf and Mewtwo. Wow! Then you got smash attack charging, side specials, air dodges, directional throws, and don't even get me started on that adventure mode. Working your way through actual Nintendo locations was just unreal. I honestly must have run through it hundreds of times. I just loved it.
Same
and as
here.
far as multiplayer goes, I played it with school friends any chance chance I got. If there was any kind of special fun thing going on at school, I was the one jumping up and going, "Oh, I'll bring my GameCube!" But mainly I played with my friend Dan, and we didn't know any of the fancy stuff that you'll see at tournaments, but this was the one time I really cared about being as good at Smash as I could be. We had many epic Roy mirror matches, long, intense battles of skill and wit. And then he switched to Marth and won every game after that forever because Marth is just Roy but faster.
Ah, no.
Marth. Still hate him. But anyway, I suspect my days of legitimately training to be better at Smash are forever behind me now. But I'll always remember my time with Melee. As far as I was concerned, it was the ultimate party/sleepover game. Pikmin on a list of Arlo's favorite GameCube games?
Yeah, I miss Melee. Like, it feels like those days are never coming back. Ever since I 100% at the game back in like 2018, I haven't really got back into it, and I really wonder if I ever will. Like, I suppose it'll be re-released. It's over 20 years old at this point, but like at some point it will be. Like, hopefully with online player, hopefully with like some features. Like, I don't know if it'll ever be the same though. Like going back to it, it just feels like one of those experiences that can't be recreated. It's so sad.
Just as surprised.
On the flip side, though, like this year, I ended up really getting into the original Pikmin, and I ended up really, really getting into Metroid Prime Remastered. So, in a lot of ways, I'm having new experiences with Nintendo games that I didn't like as much back in the day. So, it's kind of weird to think about.
As you are. While my intense love of the series wouldn't fully blossom until later, the first game immediately clicked with me. It was one of those experiences where you pick up the controller and right away you just get it. The whole process of controlling and multiplying these little creatures and having them carry stuff around was immediately satisfying, and it's just as satisfying to this day. The world is beautiful and makes you feel like you're walking through a lush garden. The Pikmin themselves are adorable, and they stuff the game to the gills with charm. The funny thing about Pikmin, though, is that it can be really hard when you're new. And at a young age, I was particularly sensitive to watching my Pikmin die. As a result, the game wowed and terrified me in equal parts. And it was a few years before I built up the courage to actually beat it. Those early days.
I don't remember how long it took me. Like, I know it took me a while, but like, how long is a while? Like, did I get filtered at some point? Like, I never got a bad ending. Like, I remember I did manage to do it, like, get all 30 parts, but I think I really, really had to, like, I reset occasionally and, like, practice at it. I really did not want to get that bad ending. I don't remember how long it took me. It's interesting. I don't think it took me longer than a year, but it might have been a while.
With the game, though, those are some of the most nostalgic memories I've got.
I honestly don't remember playing the game much as a kid. Like, when did I get it? Like, I don't... Like, I just don't remember when I bought this game. Like, it might have been around 2008. It's weird to think about.
Feel like I should have more to say about this one, but I don't know.
It was never my favorite game growing up. No. It might have been around 2003, 2004, maybe. It's weird to think that I don't know when I got it. Yeah, 2 I didn't play until 2012, just before Pikmin 3 came out. Yeah, I'm curious. I don't think I was a big fan until 2013 or so. Yeah, it might have been a lot later than most GameCube games.
It's Pikmin. What more can I say? Back before the days of Nintendo Directs, before game trailers were easily accessible, one of the primary ways we learned about games was through magazines. Like many, I had a subscription to Nintendo Power, and I greedily consumed every article in each issue. And one game that caught my eye in particular in the ancient year 2002 was a quirky, relatively experimental game called Animal Crossing. I fell in love with it instantly and obsessed over every article and screenshot, brainstorming town names and daydreaming about the new life I was about to lead. And when it finally released, I threw myself at it. Not only having my own little town with my own little house decorated just the way I wanted it, but also having everything move in real time, I was amazed. I played it endlessly. I treated it like it was legitimately my second life. I was consumed entirely by the imagination element, talking to the villagers like they were real, being proud of all my decorations, growing fruit and fishing like they were my actual jobs. Even as a sleep-starved teenager who would have slept until noon every day if he could, there was a stretch of time when I woke myself up at 6 a.m. every day so I could do my daily chores before school. And I tell ya, it was never easier to wake up that early. It never has been easier. I was excited to wake up at 6 a.m. It was the kind of experience I could have only had as a kid. And while I don't think I'll ever go back to that old game or enjoy any of the newer Animal Crossing titles to quite the same degree, the memories I made in Taralas will stay with me forever. I think Taralas was like a combination of two Elvish words, but I don't remember what they were. I was big on Lord of the Rings back then. Like many, I was disturbed and a little angry when I saw the Wind Waker reveal. And by saw, I mean used Napster to download an off-screen video taken by a guy with his camcorder at a convention. From the moment that doofy little Link drew his sword all the way to the group of moblins Looney Tunesing their way off a ledge, all I could do was stare at the tiny, heavily distorted video in disbelief.
Okay. This looks awesome. Okay? Like, I don't understand why people were salty about this. Like, Wind Waker looks so good. I don't understand how anyone could dislike this. Like, no.
Fortunately, once I started seeing new screenshots online the next year, my skepticism melted away and I was ecstatic to jump right into the game when it finally released the year after that. I had spent billions of hours in Ocarina of Time, so Wind Waker's newly expanded scope was not lost on me. It was awesome enough just playing the next big 3D Zelda game and on fancy new hardware, but having your own ship and sailing around a big open sea, it was incredible. It was still a far cry from a true open world game, especially with its many locations all relatively small and very far apart, but that didn't matter to me one bit. The sense of freedom and adventure was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. Add on to that a wicked new sword counter system, fun new items, and a heck of a cool ending sequence, and you had everything I could have possibly wanted in a Zelda game. As with basically every game I played as a kid, Wind Waker's flaws are more obvious to me now, but it still stands as a terrific Zelda experience, and one I'm sure I'll be revisiting many more times.
Yeah, I have problems with Wind Waker, but I think overall I like it more than Mario Sunshine. I think I like it more than I tend to give it credit for, actually. There's just something about the aesthetics and like the dungeon design that just really resonates with me. It's such a charming game. I'd honestly say this is probably the best Zelda game to get kids into Zelda, honestly. Maybe. I don't know, maybe Breath of the Wild is better, but like I just really like the atmosphere and like the pacing. It's so cool.
Factor is by far the best food subscription service I have ever tried.
Okay,
And I
no. I just canceled that shit.
Alright, now I got some more Pikmin-y stuff to say. Go back in time to my first years of playing Pikmin 1 and ask me to imagine the best possible sequel. Then multiply that by 3. That's how good Pikmin 2 was.
Okay,
I played it a few years after.
No, Pikmin 2 is crap. Don't give me that shit. I hate this game.
And it's the game that cemented my love of the series. I mean, it was just everything I could have wanted and more. The gameplay is so much more polished and pleasant, with much better Pikmin AI and tons of quality of life features. The lack of a day limit is such a breath of fresh air. The two-captain system offers a new layer of strategy. The new Pikmin types are creative and fun. The enemies are horrifying and brutal. And best of all, not only does the new cave system bloat the game up to a ridiculous 20-plus hour playtime, but the caves are slightly randomized, so replayability is through the roof. There are many things about Pikmin 2 that make it a poor Pikmin sequel in the eyes of many. But for me, it was, and still is, a follow-up that goes above and beyond in terms of both quality and content. At the end of the day, it's a Pikmin game, except it's super hard and you can play it forever. And that means everything to me. Pikmin 2 almost tied with the next two games for first place. But the one thing it's missing is the emotional element. So I gave it a solid third thanks to a technicality. These other games, though, I couldn't possibly tell you which one I legitimately like more. In the end, I had to pick an order, but keep in mind that if I wrote this a month ago, the places might have been switched, and they might even have switched multiple times between then and now. At the moment, my number 2 GameCube game is Metroid Prime. It's legitimately hard to talk about this game and explain why I love it so much without going on a massive thing. It's like there are so many first-person games out there where you shoot stuff. Most of these are first-person shooters, but this one is a first-person adventure. Exactly like the 2D Metroid games that came before it, Prime lets you shoot, but exploring the world is equally important. It's not just a game about beating bad guys, but about getting stronger and piecing together the tragic story of this planet and navigating its enchanting locales. Many games since Metroid Prime have explored sci-fi.
Yeah, I've been playing Metroid Prime a lot lately. I'm on my second playthrough of Remastered right now, and I think I'm like really falling in love with this game, like with the atmosphere and like just the direction and just like the tone and just like every individual encounter. It's so good.
Given us moody, atmospheric experiences. And yet to me, very few games have achieved what Prime did. It's atmospheric, yet always grounded in its own reality. The world is such a real place, yet the feeling it conveys is so magical. It doesn't have to rely on color grading and moody lighting to achieve this magical feeling. There's nothing wrong with using that stuff, but in this case, something about the game is so pure and effortless. And so much of that is thanks to the music. The music alone does the heavy lifting of an entire art team when it comes to the mood that's conveyed to the player. It's just a beautiful, magical game, and easily one of my favorite games of all time. Here it is, my friends. We've reached the end. My number 1 favorite GameCube game of all time is Spider-Man, the first movie game. It's not that, it's Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. I've talked about the game an awful lot, so it's probably not a surprise that it's pretty up there on the list. As I've said about many GameCube games, it's the perfect sequel to the original Paper Mario. I was already in love with that game, but this, it was like the series was growing up with me. Thousand-Year Door follows the same formula of the first game, but everything is better. Partners having their own HP, plus the audience and stylish move mechanics add so much to the battle system. The cleaner, higher resolution sprites are a huge improvement, and the ability to have a ton on screen at once makes for some exciting moments. The humor is top-notch, with countless laugh-out-loud jokes. Best of all, though, the game delivers the same high-quality narrative experience, yet with a little edge. You leave the storybook world of the Mushroom Kingdom behind and enter a city of thieves. The new partners are weird and interesting. The story is bigger, the antagonists more sinister, the stakes higher, and it all culminates in an ending so epic it still gives me chills. At the time, it was everything Mario wasn't allowed to be under any other circumstances. Mario and Luigi came close, but in my eyes, it didn't match the scope and sincerity of Paper Mario. The first game turned Mario into something so much more than he was, by following the framework set by Super Mario RPG, obviously, and the second game showed us that this very special, relatively new, yet already near-perfect kind of Mario game had an immense amount of room to grow. Even the silly little Goomba-stompin' plumber was capable of delivering an experience that would stick with me forever. And stick with me it has. Before we wrap this up, please allow me to indulge in 2 runners-up who only didn't make the list thanks to technicalities. They definitely would have bumped off Mario Sunshine and Sonic Adventure 2 under other circumstances. Whoosh. The first is Metroid Prime 2. It didn't make the list because while I did play it once on my GameCube, most of my time with it has been spent on Wii via the Trilogy Collection. It's still a GameCube game at heart, but it doesn't matter. I'm talking about it now anyway, so who cares that it's not on the list? As far as development efficiency goes, Metroid Prime 2 is a perfect sequel. Not only is it a direct follow-up on the same system that uses a tremendous amount of the same assets as its predecessor, but the Light World Dark World mechanic cut down even more on the need to build new locales. When you're looking at things from a mass appeal perspective, however, Echoes might have been.
I know, right? Nintendo's thinking nothing but W's right now, and the rest of the industry nothing but L's. It's crazy seeing what's happening right now.
In a bit of a misstep. In the Dark World, Samus takes damage unless she's protected by these bubbles of light, so you spend a lot of playtime standing around waiting for your health to slowly recover. And the first game was already very easy to get lost in, but now with light and dark versions of most areas and specific methods needed to navigate each with dead ends aplenty, it can be enough to make your head spin. When I first played it, I did have fun, but it was super stressful and didn't seem to reach the same heights as the first game. However, every single individual time I've revisited Metroid Prime 2 over the years, I've grown to appreciate it more. It gives us another incredible world to explore. It continues the themes of the first game while taking us to even darker places, raising the stakes, and giving us even...
I really need to finish Metroid Prime 2 again. Every time I see it, I just like, it has such great high points. Like, I think I'm down on it because of like all the negative aspects to it, but I do think it's a lot stronger than a lot of people give it credit for.
Even more to do. The world can be confusing to navigate, but it's all meticulously designed, and the way the light and dark worlds work together is really incredible. Metroid Prime 2 is an amazing game in a trilogy of amazing games. Also, it's got moth people, and they're really rad. The second game that didn't make the list is Resident Evil 4.
Oh,
And
come on.
Oh boy, if I were judging the game as a singular title without considering its different versions, it would probably be like number 4 on this list. But again, it's hardly a GameCube exclusive anymore. In this case, not even close. And while I played through the GameCube version once, my next 6,049 playthroughs happened on the Wii edition.
Hell
Point
yeah.
controls make the game a lot easier, but also way more fun. And to this day, I just can't seem to get to grips with the standard controller scheme. But you know what? It started on GameCube and I played it on GameCube, so we're talking about it. Resident Evil 4 is simply a masterpiece. The controls are a little dated, but the game established the modern Resident Evil style that's still going strong today.
I think you can expect to see some influences from Resident Evil 4 and American Evil. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Something about it is just really, really fun. I think a big part of it for me is the slower paced shooting. You get to really take time to aim, and choosing where to aim is often a tactical decision.
This looks so cool.
And the
Even now, I
graphics
think
and
this game
enemy
looks
designs
awesome.
and
Holy
animations
shit.
are all so good that the fun gameplay...
I miss the GameCube era. I'm kind of down on it, like, you know, because I do kind of strongly feel that, like, yeah, the GameCube's kind of overrated, but, like, looking back on it, like, wow, this shit was really cool.
Is just that much more enjoyable. I mean, I'm still amazed that this game ran on a GameCube. It's the epitome of a AAA experience. Then, the icing on the cake, Leon, and all the other characters, and the ridiculous things that come out of their mouths. Resident Evil games since have each had their own unique mixes of both unintentionally funny and intentionally yet unsuccessfully funny, but 4 is the only one that nails it 100%. It's hilarious, but always feels sincere, and still manages to be cool when it wants to. And honestly, I think it will always be the only game in the series to strike such a perfect balance. The lines and how they're performed are so hilarious sometimes, yet never over the top or annoying. It's
love
that
them.
subtle kind of bizarreness that mostly seems to come from Japanese games. And combined with everything else, including a slew of things to unlock through repeat playthroughs, all those one-liners make Resident Evil 4 a game that is just too good. Like it's too good. It's impossibly good. And while I wish there were more games like it, I'm also so thankful that the universe gifted us with this one at all. And that, my friends, is the end of my list. Of the top Whether you were fortunate enough to be actively gaming during the GameCube's life, or you only discovered its library later, I would love to know your...
Yeah, it's shocking how much good stuff is on the GameCube. How much good stuff is out there, period. Like, sometimes you don't think about how great this stuff actually is. And when you look back on it, you just, it all just comes back to you. I'd really like to get through Metroid Prime again, Metroid Prime 2 again, for sure. Even watching that clip of RE4, I'm just like, oh man, that's so cool, so badass. I haven't like played it at all since before the remake came out. So yeah, I might do another playthrough here soon. Oh no, I did play it. Yeah, the Switch version that like did I rage quit. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I should get through that version first before going back to the Wii version. I can't believe they okay. I can't even stand the fact that I'm looking at this. I can't. I hate how like Penguin Zero always shows up on my feed, even though I block him. But anyway, whenever I see like that fucker, like I just get angry. Uh, yeah, I think I should probably end the stream. It's been like yeah, a good 2 hours. Like back when RE was unironically cool. I know, right? Like isn't RE4 just like something sublime, something like way different? Like something that really like just surpasses the genre and like the series conventions in general. Like it's shocking how like how well that game's hold up and how distinct it is from like basically every other game ever made. Like in the series, like it's crazy. I hope that American Evil is able to recapture some of that feeling. I hope, but I don't know. I mean, I'm trying my best, but it's like it's one of those situations where I'm just like, can I do it? Like, anyway, I definitely love RE4, and I definitely will be paying homage to it in my work for sure. So yeah, thank you all for tuning into my stream. Be sure to check out. Well, I'm sure I'll be back like tomorrow morning, and then probably again that night. So yeah, keep an eye.